now returned from executive session. Item 12 is action on the employment, hiring, and appointment of the city business manager.
I'd like to make a motion to hire Angelica Brady as our new city business manager with a compensation package of $85,000.
Second.
Randy hadn't got anything to
That's it.
I have a motion by Dr. Hannaford, a second by Mr. Stelling to hire Angelica Brady as the city business manager with a total compensation package of $85,000. Is there any further discussion? Please call the vote.
Hannaford,
Yes.
Stelling,
Yes.
Winters,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
Sherman,
Yes.
Eckhart,
Yes.
Wallace,
Yes.
Hamilton.
Yes.
Well, thank you, Angelica. We're excited for this new step in your path and our path, and we look forward to what you're going to be able to continue to accomplish for the city of Alva. I do want to, just before we move on, thank the people, the personnel committee members, Daniel, Mary, and Bo, who helped us vet the candidates for the position, as well as our members of the community, Trent Goss, Karen Kane, and then our employee representative, Sandra Hamilton, who all worked with us very well to evaluate all of the resumes and background information we had on the 10 candidates total. Angelica, you are winning a competitive battle here, and we're glad to have you in this spot. Next item is action on contract negotiations with Iaff Local 3782. There are no actions to be taken at this time. Item 14 is new business. I'm not aware of anything that's come up. Okay. 15 is remarks and inquiries by council members. There being none, we will adjourn the city council meeting and open the Alva Utility Authority meeting. Shelley, when you're ready, will you please call the roll?
Martin,
Here.
Eckhart,
Here.
Hannaford,
Here.
Stelling,
Here.
Winters,
Here.
Sherman, Hamilton,
Here.
Wallace.
Here.
Item 3 is discussion and action on the consent agenda. All of the following items which concern reports and items of a routine nature were normally approved at AUA meetings will be approved by one vote of the authority. Any trustee desiring to discuss an item on the consent agenda may request that it be removed from the consent agenda and placed for discussion as the next item on the regular agenda. It will then be considered separately. The consent agenda consists of the consideration and action on the following items: approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of May 18, 2020, approval of claims in the amount of $64,766.01, and payroll expenses of $52,402.59. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
A motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second. Have a motion by Mr. Winters, a second by Mr. Stelling to approve the consent agenda. Is there any further discussion? Please call the vote.
Winters,
Yes.
Stelling,
Yes.
Hamilton,
Yes.
Eckhart,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
Hannaford,
Yes.
Wallace,
Yes.
Sherman.
Absent. Item 5 is discussion and action to approve resolution 2020-004 adopting the enterprise fund budgets for fiscal year 2021 as presented. Just like with the general fund budget, this was presented last week at the public hearing. Is there any discussion to be had at this time? Please, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll motion to approve resolution 2020-004. Second.
Have a motion by Mr. Winters, a second by Dr. Hannaford to approve resolution 2020-004 adopting the enterprise fund budgets for fiscal year 2021 as presented. Any further discussion? Please call the vote.
Winters,
Yes.
Hannaford,
Yes.
Wallace,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
Sherman, Eckhart,
Yes.
Hamilton,
Yes.
Stelling.
Yes.
Being no further business for the utility authority, we will adjourn that meeting. And open the regular Alva Economic Development Authority meeting. Clerk, please call the roll.
Eckhart,
Yes. Here.
Martin,
Here.
Winters,
Here.
Wallace,
Here.
Hannaford,
Here.
Hamilton,
Here.
Stelling,
Here.
Sherman.
Item 3 is discussion and action on the consent agenda. All of the following items which concern reports and items of a routine nature normally approved at AEDA meetings will be approved by one vote of the authority. Any trustee desiring to discuss an item on the consent agenda may request that it be removed from the consent agenda and placed for discussion as the next item on the regular agenda. It will then be considered separately. The consent agenda consists of the consideration and action on the following items: approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of May 18, 2020, approval of claims in the amount of $266,558.05 and payroll expenses of $11,796.13. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Have a motion by Mrs. Hamilton, a second by Mr. Winters to approve the consent agenda. Is there any further discussion? Please call the vote.
Hamilton,
Yes.
Winters,
Yes.
Eckhart,
Yes.
Hannaford,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
Stelling,
Yes.
Wallace,
Yes.
Sherman.
Item 5 is discussion and action to approve Resolution 2020-005, adopting the Alva Economic Development Authority fund budgets for fiscal year 2020-2021, as presented. I'd entertain a motion.
A motion to approve resolution 2020-005.
Second.
Have a motion by Mr. Winters, a second by Mr. Wallace to approve Resolution 2020-005, adopting the Economic Development Authority fund budget for 2020-2021. Is there any further discussion? Please call the vote.
Winters,
Yes.
Wallace,
Yes.
Hannaford,
Yes.
Hamilton,
Yes.
Eckhart,
Yes.
Stelling,
Yes.
Sherman, Martin.
Yes.
All right. Being no further business to discuss, we are adjourned. Thank you all for coming out this evening. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Hannaford,
Here.
Wallace,
Here.
Martin,
Here.
Eckhart,
Here.
Sherman,
Here.
Winters,
Here.
Hamilton,
Here.
Stelling.
Here.
Item 4 is discussion and action on the consent agenda. All of the following items which concern reports and items of a routine nature normally approved at city council meetings will be approved by one vote of the council. Any member of the council desiring to discuss an item on the consent agenda may request that it be removed from the consent agenda and placed for discussion as the next item on the regular agenda. It will then be considered separately. The consent agenda consists of the consideration and action on the following items: approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of May 18, 2020, approval of the minutes of the special meeting of June 1st, 2020, approval of the minutes of the special meeting June 8th, 2020, and approval of claims in the amount of $103,838.87 and payroll expenses of $169,121.69. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion to approve the consent agenda?
Second.
Have a motion by Mr. Sherman and a second by Mr. Winters to approve the consent agenda. Is there any further discussion? Please call the vote.
Sherman,
Yes.
Winters,
Yes.
Eckhart,
Yes.
Stelling,
Yes.
Hamilton,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
Wallace,
Yes.
Hannaford.
Yes.
Item 6 is reports from staff. The tourism tax meeting on May 20th. Connor?
There were 2 items up for discussion. The first one being the budget for the upcoming fiscal year. There's a lot of discussion back and forth with, the city's financial situation. Ultimately, a motion was made to approve a budget of $330,000 for the year. That passed 3-1. The second item was the 4th of July celebration. With all of the coronavirus stuff going on, they've decided to kind of scale it back to be a little safer, practice social distancing, all of that. And so their budget or their request was actually half what it normally is, and that passed unanimously for $10,000.
Does council have any questions for Mr. Martin? Thank you. Next item is the Alva Hospital Authority meeting on May 19th. Dr. Hannaford?
I was unable to attend, but I did get the agenda. If you remember last time I talked about the hospital receiving some COVID money and they'd be purchasing equipment. And on the agenda, asked for approval for some disinfection systems with installation. They also reappointed to courtesy staff and allied staff 3 new doctors. And just as a reminder, we'll have our new doc that will be starting in July, so here in a few weeks. And then really the only other thing they did was approve some policies for COVID-19, just for their guidelines, their disinfection policies, and their policy for testing prior to elective surgery. And then heard various reports from everybody, so that's all I can really tell you.
Does council have any questions for Dr. Hannaford? Thank you. Next item is the Alva Public Library Board meeting on June 1st. Mr. Eckhart?
Okay, I was unable to attend, but I met with Director Hamilton and we went over this, so I've got some of the information here. One thing they did discuss is that due to a conflict that I have with school, we are changing our meeting times. They will be at a different time for the next probably couple of months, just to make sure everybody can fit in with that. The library is back open to an extent with limited access. For example, no children, no restroom usage. You can go in and check out books, but you basically go to the counter, you tell them what they want, they go get it for you. And then the books, when they come back, they're in a 24-hour quarantine, so they keep them separate from people so they can't, or it's 1 week. It's 1 week or 24 hours. They do have computers available for use by appointment, so you just call in and reserve. You can go in and use the computer, internet, etc. Some of the projects that they worked on during the time they were closed, they actually worked the majority of the, actually all the time they were open. They went through and reshelved almost all the entire library and reorganized and reorganized everything. Went back through. Every book is supposedly, it is the correct location unless anybody's messed with it since then. They are recreating a historical timeline of downtown Alva through the decades. They're finding old pictures and things that they've had, so they're recreating that, making kind of a display that's going to be there in the library. And it will be a digital database that you can actually go into and look at and see these old pictures of downtown Alva and different things like that. They are doing the summer library program still, but it's different. They are not having in-person summer library. They have bags for children. If they go in, they can go in there. You can go in, one person can go in there, a parent or somebody can go in there and get this bag, and it has all the reading materials, activities, things like that. Last week I had a craft. They gave them a glue stick, and everything was included. So it was, and they have those for different age groups depending on their reading level and things like that. The other big thing that was discussed, and I believe this will probably come before the council, probably as early as next month, I would assume. And I talked about this briefly a couple meetings ago. Is the public library is wanting to go fine-free in the collection. I'm just going to kind of read a little bit. I'm not going to read the whole thing. I'm just going to kind of summarize it somewhat. They believe that eliminating overdue fines is important for providing equitable access for all patrons. Often fines penalize the most vulnerable individuals who can least afford them. This gets community members back into the library and enhance their quality of life and education. Fines could still be assessed for late returns on such things as like interlibrary loans, borrowed from other libraries, things that are not part of our collection here. And those have a specific fine structure for those. It's not fee-free, however, so what that means is that if an item is damaged, lost, not returned, a fee would be assessed equal to the replacement cost of that material. So if a book costs $5, they lose it, no one return it, they can be assessed $5 fee. They have the choice of replacing the material themselves or paying for the cost of replacing it. This is just kind of a policy here that's going through its customer responsibility. Says customers should still make a habit of returning items. The material still cannot be renewed, can still be renewed if the item is not on the reserve list. So if someone's reserved it, you can't, just like just currently. Let's see here. Customer accounts will be blocked from further checkouts when one or more items reach 14 days overdue. So although there's not going to be a fine, they would still have it's still a deterrence from them just keeping stuff. Use of the library computers will be restricted until materials are returned. So if they have stuff out, they can't use the computers, check the internet, things like that. Items are considered lost on the 28th day. So at 28 days, that's when they're considered lost. If item is not resolved on the 42nd day overdue, an additional $10 fee will be held to cover the cost of pursuing collection action and the cost of processing replacement materials. And then one line that she put in here that she told me was in there after the meeting that was requested to be added was that extenuating circumstances involving non-return of library materials being evaluated on an individual basis. And what she told me this was like, say that somebody had a car accident and the book was destroyed, or they had a house fire or something along those lines. Those people would not be charged for that material because that would be considered an extenuating circumstance. She did a lot of research, and the library staff did a lot of research on this to see if this was something that was viable, and it's something that's been strongly recommended by a lot of libraries around the area and around the state. A lot of bigger cities and smaller cities even have gone to this structure. And they did a cost analysis, how much do we get from fines versus how much would we lose, and it's a very negligible number, it's very small. They feel like they would actually get better checkouts if they had less fines. So, sorry that was long, but
Council have any questions for Mr. Eckhart?
I have one. Do they have any idea when they're going to open it back up for kids?
not yet. I don't know if I haven't heard anything yet anyway. So, I know that their plan was to do to not have the summer library program anyway, the rest of this summer. They even have a couple of like online things they'll be able to view at home and stuff too. So, but I don't think that it's that quite yet. I think it's on a regular, kind of see how it goes basis.
Any other questions? Thank you, Chris. Next item is Alva Regional Airport Commission meeting on June 8th. Other than the approval of minutes, there weren't any other action items on the agenda. We did have a pretty lengthy discussion about the findings from the audit with regard to the airport funds, so I'm happy to answer any questions. Okay. The Alva Municipal Cemetery meeting on June 10th. Lynn, here to...
Oh, it was a very long, exciting. We are considering that we may be raising rates 10% at the cemetery. I'm not sure if we approve that, if it then comes to you for approval. I'm getting a head shake positive. And an example of that is like a cemetery space will go from $275 to $350 with the 10% increase. All the different, I don't think you want to hear all of the different rates, but we are considering that and will probably be approved at the next meeting. And
25% increase.
25%, I'm sorry.
Is that pretty normal with everybody's, the 375? Is that
My understanding, Chris did considerable research with cemeteries in the area and cemeteries, cities about our size, and it's still compatible with that. In fact, we're a little on the low side, if I remember the comments
Yes, that is correct.
completely. There hasn't been an increase since 2008. Then once again, the Memorial Day, it went well. Though it tried to rain, even though I got cut down short. And we're having a discussion on if we want to post or not the cemetery hours at the gate area. We were kind of leaning towards chaining off the two main entrances, but since the police go in and patrol at least a couple of times between like 11 and 2 or 11 and 3, we came to the conclusion that if they had to undo the chain and drive through and then put the chain back, that they might get a little lazy and not do that. We've had more vandalism, it's my understanding. We've had several vases on tombstones knocked off, and I just heard that there was another tombstone that was smashed. I don't know any details except that. Of course, we're still missing the backhoe. It was stolen before Memorial Day, and so we're using the water department. So it was basically the meeting.
Council have any questions? Thank you, Lenny. Next item is the Finance Committee meeting on June 9th and June 15th, 2020. Dr. Hannaford?
Last week, we had a short meeting. The Finance Committee met with representation from all the banks. We basically asked them what kind of information they need to look into a line of credit. They asked some questions, we asked some questions, and like I said, it was a very brief meeting. Today, we just got done meeting, we reviewed and signed our large claims. For general, we had some ambulance repairs for about $12,000. The airport gas, a little over $10,000. ADA, debt services for about $15,000. AUA, debt services for about a little over $33,000. Our sales and use tax, we were down slightly compared to last year. We collected about $338,000, down about a little over 6%. But again, this is for March, so this is into our first month of COVID-19 and some of the restrictions. So for these next couple months, we'll really kind of be tracking that and see how we did. Our utility billing was up $32,000 from last year. It was up in water, garbage, and sewer. The finance report, our cash at hand we were very excited about. Angelica wants to review a few more journal entries. Once she does that, she's going to send that to all council members. But she wanted to make sure that was correct before we reported on that. And other thing, I know Angelica will talk about some things in her report, but we did talk about some of the things that we might be prepared for. We are having some issues with maintenance of vehicles, from police to trash trucks. So it's just something we're going to have to really do a good job of trying to keep up with that, or possibly look at some ways to maybe replace a few things when needed. So that's my report, and I'll answer any questions.
Does council have any questions, Dr. Hannaford? Thank you. The mayor's report, pretty much I've been, it's either going to have been covered in somebody else's report or in what Angelica's going to say, so I'm just going to let Angelica go. Business manager report.
So Baitco has been working up at the Oklahoma Boulevard Booster Pump Station. We will likely see a change order for some extended time due to COVID-19. They've had some issues getting some parts in, and so they were supposed to be completed by June 8th, but once they get those parts in, I talked to our engineer, they felt like we should probably see that wrapped up in the next couple weeks. So likely by the time we get to the next city council meeting to do that, to approve the change order, hopefully they should be completed with that project. And then that water tower will be up and working as well. EMS, we've been doing a lot of work in the EMS department. Myself, Director Dennis, and the mayor from the city of Winoka, and the director for the Freedom EMS department, we've been getting together to discuss a potential 522 board for Woods County. There's a lot of momentum in doing one board for all three services. So I know the mayor has been talking to her city council as well. I know the director for Freedom has been doing some discussion there as well, trying to decide what that looks like. I visited with the finance committee a little bit, looking at some potential numbers on what that revenue might look like for the city of Alva. We will meet again a week after next, with that same group and see if we can make some more headway. Hopefully, potentially looking at maybe having that 522 board maybe on a ballot in November. That's kind of our goal right now, but we'll see what that looks like going forward. I'll try my best to keep everyone in the loop on that. Director Dennis had forwarded over to me final RFP today, and so I will be forwarding that on to legal counsel for review, and then hopefully next week getting together with the Public Safety Committee to talk about some more information on the 522 board, talking about the RFP, so we can move forward with that process. And then Director Dennis and Assistant Director Greg have been looking at billing company options. They have quite a few different options that they're going to narrow down, and also take to that Public Safety Committee meeting, hopefully, for discussion and the ability to move forward and change billing companies, so we can have some more reliable income there for the EMS department. Wanted to talk about the fact that we will be doing disconnects this month. Since COVID-19 has been going on, we've not done disconnections for the water department. We will be calling customers that have some higher balances that were unable to make payments during COVID-19 and work to set up payment arrangements before we would disconnect their water. We have a few instances of some large balances, and so working with them to set up payment arrangements so they can avoid being disconnected. If there are issues, and those people that have high balances can also call City Hall and try to set up a payment arrangement. We'll try to be as flexible as we can, but we will be back to doing disconnects on a monthly basis, now going forward. I did want to make council aware that on June 8th, we did receive an initiative petition at City Hall. If you'll notice in the paper, on Sunday, citizens are allowed 10 days to make a protest against the petition. And currently, our city clerk is validating that petition to make sure everything was done appropriately. And we'll be getting back with you guys when we know the results there. Any questions?
I'll add one thing. I did kind of in conjunction with the talks about the financing options, line of credit, as well as ordinance review for spending and purchase orders and investments. Reached out to OMMS, and they did send information regarding legal counsel for both the financing with the line of credit, as well as some samples to look at for ordinances regarding the finances. So the Finance Committee has those, and we'll probably go ahead and we'll get them sent out to Ordinance Review Committee as well.
Yes.
And start working on getting those figured out. Council have any questions for Angelica? Thank you. Next item is remarks and inquiries by citizens. Anybody that would like to make a public comment, please approach the podium and state your name. You will be allotted 2 minutes per speaker. Okay. Item 8 is discussion and action to approve Resolution 2020-003, adopting the general fund budgets for the fiscal year 2020-2021 as presented. We had the public hearing last week for the budget as required by law, and this meeting today would be where we approve it in order to meet the June 30th deadline that's also required by state law for us to pass our budget. I don't know that we need to go into a great lot of detail after the detail we went into last week, but if there are any questions from the council members before we take action. If not, I'd entertain a motion.
A motion to approve Resolution 2020-003.
Second.
Have a motion by Mr. Winters and a second by Mr. Sherman to approve Resolution 2020-003, adopting the general fund budgets for the fiscal year 2020-2021 as presented. Is there any further discussion? Please call the vote.
Winters,
Yes.
Sherman,
Yes.
Hannaford,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
Stelling,
Yes.
Wallace,
Yes.
Hamilton,
Yes.
Eckhart.
Yes.
Item 9 is discussion and action to approve the renewal of the City of Alva workers' compensation insurance in an amount not to exceed $131,552. Mrs. Brady?
This is an annual renewal. You can see in the detail, our overall premium went down from $136,000 to $131,500. We also have a credit of $8,039 in escrow credit, that we can use to lower our overall premium if we choose. We would just need to make that known in the motion.
So if you're wanting us to use that escrow money to reduce our premium down to $123-ish thousand, just state so in your motion.
And that is what we've done in the last, I think, 3 years. We've done that every year, which our escrow credit has gone up every year. I think this is the largest it's ever been in the last 3 years that I'm aware of.
Is this what we usually get the refund on?
Was this amount already budgeted at that amount, or?
No, actually,
is that
it was budgeted at the 136, so overall, that will be about a $15,000 savings in our budget.
So was the 8,000 budgeted at all, in
No.
the amount?
No.
If we don't take the 8,000, do we get it back in a check like we
We can,
had before?
we would have to, there's a resolution that we would have to pass in order to do that, but we can do that at the next city council meeting and just get an $8,000 check.
Would there really be any benefit to receiving it as a check versus a credit on this payment?
It would just be $8,000.
We get it
to
today
our
as
cash
opposed
flow,
to spread
yes.
out.
But it wouldn't probably be until August or September before we receive that $8,000
Then when do we make the first payment on this?
in September.
Is there any other discussion? Entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve the renewal of the City of Alva workers' compensation insurance in the amount not to exceed $131,552, and apply the escrow credit towards that amount.
Have a motion by Dr. Hannaford and a second by Mrs. Hamilton to approve the renewal of the City of Alva workers' compensation insurance in an amount not to exceed $131,552, utilizing the $8,039 in the escrow to lower the premium. Is there any further discussion? Please call the vote.
Hannaford,
Yes.
Hamilton,
Yes.
Winters,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
Eckhart,
Yes.
Sherman,
Yes.
Wallace,
Yes.
Stelling.
Yes.
Item 10 is discussion and action to enter into executive session pursuant to 25 OS 307B1 to discuss employment, hiring, and appointment of city business manager, and B 25 OS 307B2 to discuss contract negotiations with IAFF Local 3782, Alva, Oklahoma.
Motion to enter executive session?
Second.
Have a motion by Mr. Sherman, a second by Mr. Winters to enter into executive session. Is there any further discussion? Please call the vote.
Sherman,
Yes.
Winters,
Yes.
Eckhart,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
Hamilton,
Yes.
Wallace,
Yes.
Hannaford,
Yes.
Stelling.
Yes.
All right. I'll ask that council members, Mr. Cunningham, Shelley remain. Angelica will call you back in a second.